What is up, designers? Welcome to my Photoshop tutorial, and today I wanted to make this video because I found that too many people are stuck in Photoshop feeling uncomfortable, and for me it's comfortable, and the only reason to explain that is because I'm familiar with the interface and the others are not. So I decided to do this video tutorial to introduce you guys to the interface so that you feel a bit more comfortable with all these tools and the terms and workspaces, layers, whatever, so that next time you open your Photoshop, you're gonna feel comfortable and not get intimidated by all these buttons around you. Alright, so the first thing you might be wondering is, why is my Photoshop not the same color as yours? Well, you have a choice to customize your Photoshop colors, and I prefer this dark theme because it's better for my eyes. If you want to do the same, you can go to Edit, Preferences, Interface, and here you can choose whichever colors you want. You can go with the bright one or the darker version, and then simply click OK, and that'll be it. Easy. Now, about the tools and everything else, the interface, let's go over them quickly. So on the left side here we have the tools, and it may look a little bit like this to you. If it does, maybe you prefer it to be that way. I personally prefer it this way, so I'm just going to click these arrows here and condense them like this. On the right side here, we have workspace composed of panels. So all these little tabs here that you see, these are called panels. And if you don't see the exact same ones, it's probably so, because you can customize which panels you see depending on what kind of work you're doing. Now in Photoshop, obviously you know this, that you can do many different things, ranging from drawing to photo editing to making 3D images. So it really depends what you're working on, and Photoshop allows you to customize it. So if you want to customize it a little bit more, you can go to Window right here and tick all these panels that you think are going to come in handy for your work. Alternatively, you can also switch up your workspace by going to Workspace here and then clicking one of these already made sets of workspaces. So let's try this one. As you can see, my tools changed, and also on the right side my panels changed according to the essentials. So if I go back here to painting, my tools are gonna go back to what I usually use if I'm painting in Photoshop. So you can kind of get the idea of you having different workspaces for different purposes in Photoshop when you're working on them. Okay, so let's go over the tools a little bit. Now notice that when you select any tool here, the menu right here changes accordingly. So if you select a certain tool, it basically comes with its own set of adjustments here. This is helpful, for instance, when selecting shapes. I can build a little shape here, and then I can change the colors from here. If I had the move tool selected and I selected this shape, I couldn't do the same here. So keep that in mind when you're working with different tools, and if you ever get lost in it, just make sure to double check which tool you are on currently, and that should fix it. Now if you look at the icons a little bit closer, on the lower part they have a little arrow. That means that they are a group of tools. So if you hold down, you will see tools that come up that are somewhat similar to these. So for instance, these are selection tools, and they have also different kinds, right? So we have rectangular marquee tool here and the elliptical marquee tool. So it makes sense to group them because they go together. They basically have the same functionality, just different shapes. Okay, so here as well, this is a selection tool, lasso tool, and then polygonal lasso tool is also a selection tool, but it just has a different functionality and makes the selection differently. So anytime you find yourself looking for a tool that you don't see it anymore, you can just try and click one of these and see if you can find them here in the drop down menu. Another little tip that I can give you is, when you start learning Photoshop, please try to remember shortcuts, because they are very important and they're gonna make your workflow much faster. I use it all the time and it has helped me a lot. So let's talk a little bit about the file system. Now, when I started the video, the file was already open, so I didn't really show you how that's done. I can show it to you now. So all you do is go to File and click New. Or alternatively, you can just click Control or Command N on your keyboard, and that will open the file creation menu. Now, depending on your Photoshop version, you may see this interface slightly differently, but essentially the functions are the same. So what you want to do here is create the size for your file. So I'm going to create 1080 by 1080. Now make sure that pixels are selected and nothing else, because that's going to determine the size. You don't want 1,000-inch file, definitely not. It's going to destroy your computer. And resolution, keep in mind that resolution is mostly used for print. So if you're working with a print file, then I recommend you put in 300. And if you're just working on a file that's mostly going to be used on the web, 72 is totally fine. The color mode, again, RGB for web, and then CMYK color if you're working for print. Well, currently we're just going to go for RGB. So again, RGB for web and CMYK for print. Let's ignore the rest for now. Now, when you press create, you will always get one layer. That is the background layer. So on layer, we can see right here, this is the layer panel. Okay, so this is where we create layers. Layers is a very interesting and powerful tool in Photoshop and also other softwares that you can use and utilize to really help your work. So let me create a new layer and I will show you how these things work. So if you want to create a new layer, you can go down here and click this little paper icon, or Control or Command Shift N. You can name the layer. Let's just keep it layer 1. So let's go over a little bit how layers work. And let's say we can imagine the layers as little papers, transparent papers. Alright, so if layers are transparent papers and they are stacked on top of each other, and we are looking at them from here, right, because that's how it is, then in that case we're not going to see anything. If we draw something here, let's select a little bit different color here. So let's say we draw a line here, we're going to see this line. However, if we draw a line on the layer that is on top of it in exact same directions and place, then we are not going to see the green line anymore. We're just going to see the red one. And again, if we're going to draw it on the third one here, it's going to cover the second and first as well, because it's simply just stacked on top of each other, right? And that's basically how the layers work. Okay, I forgot to tell you guys, when I created a new file, I still had the previous file open. And if you notice, I have two tabs here, just like you would have on an internet browser. And if I go back here, I'm gonna go back to the first file that I had open. Now, that's really cool because you have several different files open and you can actually work them together. So if, say, I wanted to drag this little circle from here to the other file, I can just do that by just dragging like this. Or a better way to do it is just go to the layer of the object that I want to duplicate, right click, duplicate layer, and then in the destination, instead of untitled one, I'm going to put the second one because that's the name of our second file. Then press OK, and then it's going to just duplicate this layer. I'm going to drag this on top of it so it covers everything, and that's how you duplicate layers or objects from one file to the other. So now we have covered several things. We know that the tools are over here. We know that this area belongs to files, and then this area is the workspace for panels. What you might also want to experiment with after you've kind of gotten your head around all this is to go ahead and click here the half-filled circle, and here you have a lot of adjustments that you can make. So for instance, if you ever wonder what's an easy way to make filters on Photoshop, you just go here, color lookup, and then you go here, and then these are already made color adjustments that you can use for your photograph. And then just to quickly go through it, I'm gonna mouse over here and then turn my mouse wheel, and it's going to swap between them. Or you can just use the arrow keys and go through that as well. And you can see that it has really cool effects as well. So you can use that and then save the file. Oh, and then I'm going to teach you how to save the file as well. You can simply go to File, Save As, and then once you're there, you have an option of saving it in various different formats. For now, I'll just go for JPEG, just a normal JPEG. Note that there are different kind of JPEGs here, so just go for the one that just says JPEG, and then call your file something, I don't know, Photoshop tutorial, and then just press save, and then you'll get a little JPEG options button here. This is where you can maximize your quality. Now notice that if you click on the preview here, make sure that that's selected. Then if you move the slider all the way to the left, you're gonna see a very drastic change in quality, and it's gonna get all pixelated. But if you go over back to number 12, it's going to be the highest quality, but also the highest size. It shows you a little size status here, so it's going to tell you how big your file is going to be. So that's also very handy. Regarding format options, I usually go for the progressive as it is the least amount of size. So then you just click OK and it has been saved on your computer. Oh, and before I go, I have some news. There's a new app that came out recently. It's an educational app and I'm a part of it. I'm a teacher there and I'm making a Photoshop full course for beginners. And so if you want to register and try it out for free for 1 month, you can do so by registering through my link below. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff that they're teaching. It's pretty much unlimited as to how many different kind of courses they have. And you can even learn body weight and bass guitar. I mean, there's pretty much everything there. So if this is something you're interested in, you maybe want to learn a new skill or progress in your current one, learn some hobbies, I don't know, whatever floats your boat, you can go ahead and try it out for a month. It's free. There's also my course here if you want to continue learning Photoshop. So yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something new, and I'll see you in the next one.